Hi, welcome to Sex with Dr. Zen. My name is Marianne Marlowe, and today's guest is Tiffany. We're going to be talking on sexuality and also tantra. She's a psychotherapist. There's going to be lots to talk about. You don't want to miss it. We'll be right back. Hi, welcome to the show. My guest today is Tiffany, and I'm going to have her speak to you a little bit on psychotherapy and what she does with tantra, does lectures with sexuality, spirituality. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Very nice to have you here.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, you're welcome so much. Just give me an overview on what is the special little magic that you do with your
magic
work.
that I do. I am a spiritual psychotherapist, so people a little wonder what that terminology means. Basically, it's traditional psychotherapy, but it allows for an expansion into a holistic approach. It's looking at how to step into being our authentic selves, stepping into living lives of empowerment, what we can do to activate positive change in our lives. And of course that encompasses all aspects of being. So looking at our relationships, looking at our sexuality, looking at our spirituality. Spiritual psychotherapy touches on all aspects of that.
Right. There's a lot of information coming out. People are opening up and wanting to move into their sexuality in a more positive way. And with Tantra, this topic that has really sort of exploded in the last couple of years, does it deal with sexuality? Does it deal with sex? Is it a lifestyle? I understand that you can be in that together with your partner and have the most amazing sex, but what is the process or the clearing that needs to take place first before we actually live that blissful place of Tantra? Tantra is really a state of being, is it not?
It is. If one were to look at the traditional roots of Tantra, you're looking at Hindu philosophy.
Right.
The first recorded mentions of Tantra seems to come from about the 3rd to 5th century. We're talking about 1700 years ago.
Right.
But that was in the context of the different classical philosophical schools that were coming out of India, or coming out of Hindu tradition. And all of those schools in different approaches are looking at how do we connect, how do we have a relationship with the divine. So Tantra was yet another school or approach of looking at that relationship.
What is the divine? Divine what? Divine sexuality? Divine
Well,
sex?
not necessarily
Your divine self?
the divine, which encompasses everything. So it's looking at the sense that there is the interconnection of all things, that there is a divine energy that moves through all of us.
Right.
If we want to talk Star Wars, we're talking about the Force.
Okay.
But that there is an intangibility to that energy.
Okay.
It really does permeate everything that there is. And we are in a physical form, so it permeates us as well.
Right.
The Tantra path specifically, I'm not an expert in Hindu philosophy, but just getting a basic overview is in the Tantra path. What it appears to have been concerned with is how do we connect with that energy of all there is, the energy of the divine, and we pull it into our physicality.
How do you get on that path to start to explore that energy?
I would say a two-pronged path. So one is about starting to expand one's experience of what the divine is.
Right.
But the other part of that path is needing to explore who we are as well.
Right.
Tantra appears to have made a transition. So many Eastern paths made the transition to Western culture in about the 1960s, and there's a lot of stuff that was going on in the 60s. There's a lot of revolution that was going on in the 60s.
Sex, love, and rock and roll.
That's it.
But mainly sex, a lot of sex. Really, a huge sexual revolution going on then.
Well, that's it.
It's happening again.
And that's the thing. My sense is that what was happening in the 60s was, the sexual revolution was about really looking at the confining and limiting attitudes that were keeping us trapped.
Right.
But also looking at gender roles. And we're going through a whole different revolution of that nowadays. And so it seems absolutely understandable to me. Well, you've seen there's a Reiki revolution that's been going on for the past 10 years.
Right.
People really are becoming far more comfortable with working with energy. And so when you combine working with energy with working with sexuality, incorporating that into sexuality, then really you have Tantra.
How do you get into this clearing so that you can enjoy your sexuality? So with Tantra, with the path.
It's looking at what you are carrying within yourself as limitations, limiting beliefs, limiting experiences, traumatic experiences, anything that serves to hold us back or pull us in.
Right.
That when we're looking at, really, we're talking about sacred sexuality.
Right.
Talking about how is it that we move into a place where we can be completely open and authentic about who we are and allow that to be shared with another person.
Do you work mainly with a certain type of people? Do you work in groups? Are you lecturing on this specific topic?
I do teach in the context of one's own emotional healing. So how we can embrace our sexuality as a part of who we are as whole people. That often what we find is, we'll take on certain roles of being, we'll step out into the world and, this is how I am in the world in this place, but my sexuality I'll leave at home. My sexuality I'll leave in the bedroom. My sexuality I will just share with these people.
So emotional blockages you have to work with that first before you can even tap into sexuality?
Yeah, basically what we have to do is accept that we ourselves are divine.
So how do we know that we're okay with our sexuality and we're just healthy with it? I mean, do we just go back and forth with that? Like sometimes there's things that happen to us and it just puts the emotional pressure on us again where then we can't embrace sexuality anymore. So how do you work with that?
Looking at the places where, it really starts with bringing our thoughts, our feelings, and our beliefs into conscious awareness. And I think to a large degree, a lot of people are aware of that. We know when we look in the mirror and we say, oh, I don't like this about myself, or oh, I wish I didn't look this way. But recognizing that becomes a limiting belief that stops us from being able to be completely open with another.
Right.
Go ahead. Just to continue on that, one of the, there's many, but one of the key central concepts of Tantra is this concept of the divine masculine and the divine feminine. And it's embodied for the most part in the Hindu deities of Shakti and Shiva.
Right.
And Shakti and Shiva, they're the cosmic dancers. That they are Shiva is that sort of formless potential of all, and Shakti is the one when they dance who's able to take that form and make it manifest into something which is tangible.
That's the female.
That's the female.
The female entity of this whole Tantra energy.
Yeah, and you need to have the both. And so with ourselves, we need to recognize, like, and I'm not putting this in a gender way. I'm not saying that that a woman has to see herself as Shakti and a male has to see himself as Shiva.
Right.
In truth, we need to find the balance of both of those within ourselves as well.
Sort of a mystical topic.
It's
pretty broad, but to really just clear, Tantra's not about sex.
No, Tantra is about complete, utter vulnerability in authenticity that allows us to experience complete union, whether that is with ourselves, a complete acceptance of who we are, integrating all aspects of ourselves with another.
Right.
And when you think about, imagine what it would be like to come together with someone where you are completely at peace,
Right.
and accepting of who you are, and completely open to receiving how
Right.
that other person is as well, and vice versa. That's when you achieve bliss.
So when you achieve this level of awareness with this tantra, this clearing, you can have mind-blowing sex.
Absolutely.
You have to have all of these other clearings, and the emotional balance has to be put into place, the psychotherapy, the whole spirituality, the whole sexuality, before we even have extended daily orgasms that last forever.
And that's
you
not
can
to say
live
that
in
you
an
can-
orgasmic energy too.
Well,
your
that's
body
it.
can be vibrating on it forever.
And that's where the integration of sexuality and spirituality really comes into play. That's why I said, when we're walking down the street, we tend to think, okay, well, I'm leaving my sexuality at the door because I'm walking down the street and I'm grocery shopping.
Right.
But if, I'm being aware of what I'm saying here.
Yes. You can say what you want. The show I was told you can.
Well, I'm not implying certain things, but it's having that energy of openness. I'm fully engaged. I'm sensually feeling what my experience is.
Right.
I'm experiencing pleasure in the moment of whatever experience that I'm having. So the physical experience, it doesn't come down to body parts. It comes down to how I am opening myself up completely to an experience.
Tiffany, just hold that thought. Lots more to say. We'll be right back after this. Welcome back to the show. Today my guest is Tiffany, and we're really having an excellent deep conversation here. I'll just get back to this grocery shopping, because
Sexy grocery shopping?
yeah, I need to know about it. So everybody else out there needs to know about it too. So let's open up this whole topic of this energy.
I think the point that I was striving to make is recognizing that we can expand the delineation of where we are experiencing our sexuality,
Right.
and that it really is not something that is ever separate from who we are. We
Right.
have a holistic approach. It is always with us. And so the definition of tantric sex then, it's opening and expanding it from being something which is genitally focused,
Right.
From something that is goal oriented.
Right.
Those are two aspects which really are not connected.
No, those
with
are two
Tantra.
no-nos, aren't they? With
Yeah,
the Tantra thing. But
absolutely.
we keep coming into that because we want to get there still. We want to still get to the orgasm.
Yeah.
All
There
the
is a
time.
real draw to having that peak experience.
Yeah, sure, for sure.
And, peak experience is one of those key components of a spiritual experience. It's another place where there's that crossover between sexuality and spirituality.
Right.
People who meditate and get into that place of mindfulness, that is that same experience of union,
Right.
of losing oneself in the experience of something that is greater than oneself.
Right.
Tantra brings that down into the human physical experience. So it is that same peak experience, but which is experienced through the body.
Mm-hmm.
So in that, an example is one could have that peak experience simply through look or through kissing.
Right.
There's this interesting phenomenon where we're talking about engaging sexually and wanting to make that more is moving on to other things rather than,
What other things?
well, first base, second base,
Right. Yeah, okay.
rather than looking at how do we deepen and expand the experience that we're just having. You can kiss and experience that tantra orgasm.
Really?
Absolutely.
Really?
Absolutely.
Do you have
Absolutely.
to teach me how? How do you do that?
Because what you're doing is you are dissolving the barriers between yourself and another person. You are allowing that absolute union. You're allowing your physical bodies to merge, your emotions to be open to each other, your the energies to merge, and so it becomes this feedback loop of energy that builds and builds and builds and builds and builds.
Each partner has to be on the same page for that to happen, because if one is going to be in that mindset of approaching kissing that way and the other one's not, I mean, you have to be on the same page in the path there.
Or there's a way of being able to encourage a partner to meet you in that space. So, for example, if I were kissing a partner, and you can feel that there is a dropping down into a level of intimacy that happens, and you can feel when people start to get uncomfortable. Okay, let's move on to something else.
Yeah.
No, just stay with me in this place, and then you feel how that emotion deepens, and then the physical feelings start to come up as well.
Right.
So there's a way of encouraging someone to stay with you in that place.
What is that way? How do you do the encouragement?
Well, you could, if someone's hand starts moving, just move the hand back and say, just let's continue to kiss. Look deeper into somebody's eyes.
Right.
There is, what is it? A couple of really amazing books on the topic. Margot Anand has written a number of books. The Art of Sexual Ecstasy is one. And there's a number of practices which she presents. One of them would be, being naked partners, having legs wrapped around each other.
Right.
You're not, again, it's not a genital touching thing,
But that's a turn on. I'm sitting naked with my partner and I'm up on his lap. I mean, boner, and all I want to do is get right on it. So how do I calm myself down?
You breathe into
to
the space.
just, to not do it. What do you mean you don't? How?
Yeah, it's breathing through it.
Wow.
Yeah, and breathing through with the awareness of how the energy within you starts to change as well.
Right.
That if you can hold the energy of that,
Right.
you actually recognize that the turn on increases,
Right.
and it increases, and
Right.
it increases. We are so very goal oriented in our culture.
Well, this is the society. We're supposed to go and we're supposed to have a goal and get to it as fast as we can. Warp
That's
speed,
it.
right?
That's it.
And
Zen,
I know.
Zen is the art of being able
it is an
to
art.
live in the moment.
It is. It's so hard because there is a different energy outside the circle. I call the circle of Tantra is a
Right.
place with no time.
Yes. So no
And-
time means that this kiss lasts forever, and the energy builds simply in the moment of this kiss. And at the point where energies merge together, that is orgasmic energy.
You can feel it. It starts to tingle.
Yeah.
Oxytocin is moving, and you really feel it in your toes, and
Yep.
it works on a cellular level.
Yeah. There's another book, Stranger in a Strange Land. It came out in the 60s by Robert Heinlein, and I mean it's a really wonderful book on a whole bunch of fronts, but I remember when I first read it, there was one part of it which really struck me. I'm not going to get into sort of the backstory other than there's this guy and he's got a very different perspective,
Right.
and he's sort of sharing this perspective with others.
Did some really amazing work back in the 60s, didn't they?
Well, it was revolutionary. So he talks about this concept of grokking, and grokking is understanding something so completely that you become one with it.
Wow.
And so in the context of this story, there's a woman, the woman kisses him. It's sort of experience. He says, "What happens when you kiss Michael?" And he kisses her, and she faints. And when she comes to, the person who had asked to sort of see this kiss said, "What happened?"
Right.
And she said, nothing existed but that moment. That he was so completely in that kiss
Yeah.
that I felt completely drawn into his energy.
Wow.
That's Tantra. That is Tantra.
So, I mean, I think I have been there then. I think I have. Because sometimes I've had such mind-blowing experiences with, the pleasure of engaged. Like my partner and I, we kind of practice a little bit of this. Just getting to know and learn about it. I've gone to places where I've never been before, where it's like, did I have an orgasm? Is that what you're talking about? Like it feels like your body's just like going somewhere else.
It is an energetic experience of pleasure that fills your whole body.
And I'm always energized.
Every cell.
Afterwards.
Yes.
More energy.
Yes.
Like I have more energy with this practice.
And that's why with the practice, with deepening those experiences, it becomes very creative.
Yeah.
Because that's a creative force.
And I never want to have an orgasm. Like the more you practice it, the more you just want to like stay there and not have an orgasm, because then it's all over. Right? So just keep the flow, like, and that's practicing keeping it slow and breathing. But we talked before, and you're in a project of writing right now, and I want to hear about it because I like to write as well. So I want to see what kind of words and what kind of message that you're actually putting together here and when it's coming out.
Well, the book is called The Great Work, Self-Knowledge and Healing Through the Year, Wheel of the Year. It's due for release in May of 2015. It's being published by Llewellyn. So I've done my part of it. The book is done. It's in their very capable hands. And
nice.
Yeah.
What's the content, if you mind sharing a little bit?
It's so funny. It's another type of union. For me, it's psychology or psychotherapy and nature. When I was writing the book, the message that kept coming through to me is be both of the earth and of the stars. We are integrating both of those aspects of self together.
Right.
And, nature is being of the earth.
Yeah, it is.
There's so much, as you were saying, there's so much that's been going on with Reiki. There's so much, this explosion of tantra. And is looking at how do we take the energy that we are becoming very well versed in. How do we see that is a part of the nature all around us as well, and we can use that as a way of learning more about ourselves. And really, bottom line for me, I wrote it because I wanted to provide people with really practical tools for moving into a place of an authentic self, where at the end of a year, at the end of a cycle, they're feeling empowered, and that they are able to openly share themselves with others in that way.
That's great. It's beautiful. It's needed. I think as the years are going on, there's more opening up. Just one quick question on the practices of the Eastern philosophy of Tantra and the Eastern philosophies of the Taoism. Are they similar or are they completely different?
My understanding is, and I'm not an expert in Taoism, but my understanding of Taoism is that it is the way, it is the all.
On that note, we're just going to end our great discussion. It was really nice having you here. I could talk more in deep about the whole philosophy on the practices of psychotherapy, sex and sexology, and all that stuff is really coming out, and society needs to hear more of it.
Absolutely.
I commend you and congratulate you on the works with your book. I wish you all the best of luck with it.
Thank you.
Great.
Thank you. It's
fantastic. It's been great having you here. We'll be right back. Thanks for watching the show. It was great having Tiffany on as my guest today. If you have any further questions, feel free to email them to me directly at sexwithdrzen@rogerstv.com. We'll see you again.